Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. To look at children and youth, definitions, characteristics, and then we'll look at some educational, emotional, social, cognitive, and physical domains. These are domains of development. Okay? Then, my name is Nkemakonam Anyuku. The question that one asks is, who is a child? What are the characteristics of a child? The concept of child and youth are deeply rooted in social, legal, cultural, and psychological discourse. Their definitions often vary depending on context, ranging from biological development to sociological identity and legal classification. Understanding who qualifies as a child or youth is essential for policymakers of any country, and educational planning, social welfare, and moral development. This lecture interrogates these constructs academically, identifying their defining characteristics and the underlying philosophical and developmental implications. Like I said, childhood could be defined from different angles. Now, the definition of a child is not uniform across disciplines. Legally, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, 1989, defines a child as every human being below the age of 18 years or less. Under the law applicable to the child, majority is attained earlier. This global standard recognizes the child as a person with evolving capacity, deserving of protection and guidance. From psychological and developmental standpoint, a child is an individual undergoing the early stages of human growth, typically from birth through puberty, characterized by physical, emotional, cognitive immaturity. Jean Piaget's cognitive development theory situates childhood within the sensory motor, pre-operational, and concrete operational stages, where learning occurs through observation, imitation, and gradual reasoning. In sociological terms, a child occupies a dependent status within family and community structures, requiring care, nurturing, and socialization. If you also look at Abat Bandura's definition in his theory, social learning theory, he says that child learns through imitation. And also George Gardner's cultivation theory, he posits that over time, what is presented before the child, he cultivates those things as attitude, behavior, and acceptable norms in his or her immediate environment. Culturally, definitions of childhood vary. In African societies, for example, childhood may extend beyond biological age to encompass one's dependency status or economic role. A person may still be regarded as a child if he or she is not yet married, economically independent, or socially responsible. Therefore, the concept of a child is multidimensional, legal, biological, psychological, and cultural. Characteristics of a child. The characteristics of a child can be examined under developmental, emotional, social, and moral dimensions. Number one is dependency. A child relies on adults for sustenance, protection, and decision making. This dependency is both physical and emotional. Now, curiosity and learning. Children are naturally inquisitive, eager to explore their environment and acquire knowledge through play and observation. So whatever you do before a child, the child learns. Okay? Whatever you do, whatever you give to the child, whatever you present before the child, in one way or the other, he learns and appropriates such into his or her behavior. Emotional instability. Emotional expressions are spontaneous and not yet fully regulated. This stage involves the gradual development of self-control and, of course, identity. Then imitation. Children learn by observing and mimicking adult behaviors, social norms, and linguistic patterns. So the way you talk, the way you behave, okay, they learn. And psychologists such as Gabner and Abad Banduras outline all this in their theories. Then limited responsibility. Children are not fully accountable for their actions in legal and moral terms, as their reasoning and judgment are still developing. So you as an adult or parents should be there to provide this guidance and direction to the young ones, to the children who are still growing. They are also known for their playfulness. Play serves as a central medium for learning, creativity, and socialization during childhood. Developing identity. Children are in the process of forming self-awareness, personal values, and moral understanding. These traits reflect the formative nature of childhood as a period of learning, dependency, and of course, identity formation. Now, who is a youth? From your own point of view, who could you say is a youth? The term youth represents a transitional stage between childhood and adulthood, encompassing physical maturity, social engagement, and identity consolidation. The United Nations defines youth as persons between the ages of 15 and 24 years, though this range may vary across regions and institutions. The African Youth Charter extends this range to 15 to 35 years, recognizing the diverse socio-economic realities within African society. Psychologically, youthhood corresponds with late adolescence and early adulthood, a period marked by self-discovery, goal setting, and the pursuit of independence. Culturally, youth is associated with vitality, productivity, and social mobility. So at this stage of human development, the youth tend to move. They tend to engage with adventurous endeavors. Okay, so at this time, they may migrate from their present environment to new environment that promises and fulfills their aspirations. In many traditional societies, rites of passage symbolize the transition from childhood to youth, emphasizing responsibility and community participation. Hence, youthhood embodies both the promise of potential and challenges of self. Characteristics of a youth. Youth is distinguished by several interrelated characteristics that reflect biological, psychological, and social dimensions. 1. Physical and sexual maturity. Youths have attained full biological development and reproductive capability, marking the end of childhood dependency. Quest for identity and independence. This stage is characterized by the search for autonomy, personal values, and social belonging. Okay? Of course, emotional volatility. Youths often experience intense emotions, enthusiasm, and occasionally instability as they navigate relationships and responsibilities. Idealism and innovation. Youths tend to be ambitious and reform-oriented, displaying creativity and willingness to challenge traditional norms. Peer influence. Peer groups significantly shape attitudes, fashion, behavior, and decision-making during this stage. Another characteristic is risk-taking behavior. Due to evolving judgment and experimentation, youths may engage in adventurous or risky activities, which can be constructive or destructive. It depends. And then social responsibility. The youth stage involves increasing participation in societal development through education, work, and civic engagement. For instance, in Nigeria, we know that we have the greater percentage of our population is youth. This is a very active stage when it comes to human development. Attributes collectively define youth as a dynamic phase of transition, exploration, and societal contribution. Now there are interrelationships between childhood and youth. Okay, so although distinct, childhood and youth are interconnected developmental phases, forming a continuum of human growth. The experiences of childhood, nurturing, education, and moral upbringing greatly influence the behavior and outlook of an individual in youth. Where childhood provides the foundation of socialization, youth consolidates identity and responsibility. A poorly nurtured childhood often manifests in maladjusted youth behavior, whereas a well-guided childhood produces discipline and purpose-driven youth. It is important that we know this. Conclusively, the interrogation of who is a child and who is a youth reveals that these categories are socially constructed and context dependent, shaped by legal, psychological, and cultural frameworks. A child is primarily defined by dependence, growth, and learning, while a youth represents transition, independence, and social participation. Both stages are crucial in human development and societal continuity. Recognizing their distinct characteristics enables policymakers, educators, and parents to design effective strategies for guidance, empowerment, and protection of the younger generation. So we'll now quickly move to these other domains of development, such as educational, emotional, social, cognitive, and physical domains. Human development and learning are multidimensional processes involving interrelated domains that influence how individuals grow, behave, and acquire knowledge. In educational psychology and pedagogy, these domains, such as educational, emotional, social, cognitive, and physical, are central to understanding the holistic development of learners. Effective education, therefore, extends beyond intellectual instruction to include emotional stability, social adaptability, physical well-being, and moral soundness. This aspect of our lecture interrogates these domains academically, examining their conceptual foundations, interrelationships, and implications for teaching and learning. And having looked at that, we quickly move to educational domain. Human development and learning are multidimensional, yes, of course. The educational domain encompasses the processes, environments, and outcome involved in acquiring knowledge, skills, values, attitude that contribute to personal and societal development. Now, education as defined by Darwin is a process of living and not merely a preparation for future life. It integrates intellectual, moral, and social capacities to equip individuals for effective participation in the society. Okay? Academically, the educational domain can be analyzed through formal, informal, and of course, non-formal learning processes. Formal education refers to structured learning within schools and institutions, guided by curricula and evaluation systems. Whereas informal education includes the lifelong acquisition of knowledge from daily experiences, family, media, and environment. Non-formal education, on the other hand, involve organized learning outside the traditional school system, such as vocational training or adult literacy programs. In Bloom's taxonomy, the educational domain is conceptualized as comprising three major learning dimensions: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor, each representing intellectual, emotional, and practical aspects of human learning. The educational domain, therefore, is not confined to the classroom but involves a comprehensive framework that shapes intellectual competence, moral character, and social responsibility. Okay? Move to emotional domain. The emotional domain, also known as the affective domain, concerns feelings, values, motivations, and attitudes that influence behavior and learning. According to Crottle, Bloom, and Mercier, the affective domain includes 5 hierarchical levels, which is receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, and characterizing by value. These levels illustrate how individuals internalize emotional experiences and transform them into consistent behavior patterns. Emotion plays a significant role in education, and personal development. Emotions affect attention, memory, and motivation. 3 critical components of learning, for instance, a learner's sense of belonging and emotional security in the classroom, directly influences participation and achievement. Conversely, emotional distress can hinder learning and self-esteem. Psychologically, the emotional domain underlines the importance of emotional intelligence, according to Goleman. The ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's emotion and those of others. Emotional intelligence fosters empathy, resilience, and interpersonal effectiveness. In educational settings, teachers who attend to students' emotional needs create environments that promote engagement, positive behavior, and holistic growth. Thus, the emotional domain is integral to moral and psychological maturity. We should know this. Okay? The next is social domain. The social domain pertains to how individuals interact, form relationships, and participate in societal structures. Human beings are inherently social, and learning is often a social process, of course influenced by cultural norms and interpersonal dynamics. Vygotsky's sociocultural theory posits that cognitive development is mediated through social interaction and language. Of course, knowledge is co-constructed through collaboration and dialogue within one's cultural context. Social development includes the acquisition of social skills such as cooperation, communication, empathy, leadership, and respect for diversity. These skills are critical for teamwork and citizenship. In educational settings, the social domain is cultivated through group projects, discussions, peer mentoring, and extracurricular activities. Moreover, social development helps learners internalize societal values and ethical principles. It enables them to understand social roles, resolve conflicts, and contribute meaningfully to the communities. Okay? Neglecting the social domain can lead to isolation, antisocial behavior, and poor interpersonal adjustment. Therefore, fostering social competence is an essential part of human and educational development. So, we move to the cognitive domain. The cognitive domain refers to the mental processes involved in knowledge acquisition, understanding, problem solving, and critical thinking. It is the intellectual dimension of learning, encompassing processes such as perception, attention, memory, reasoning, and creativity. Bloom's taxonomy originally categorized the cognitive domain into 6 levels: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. These were later reversed by Anderson and Croto to remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. This framework reflects the processes or the progression from basic knowledge recall to higher order thinking skills, essential for innovation and judgment. Okay? The cognitive domain is central to education because it determines how learners process information and apply it to real-world situations. Cognitive development theorists such as Jim Piaget stages of cognitive growth, which includes sensory-motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational stages of development. This illustrates how reasoning evolves with age and experience. Vygotsky further emphasizes that cognitive functions are socially constructed through interaction within the zone of proximal development. Hence, the cognitive domain underlines the intellectual capacity that supports problem solving, comprehension, and decision making. A robust educational system must, therefore, stimulate analytical and critical thinking rather than mere memorization. The next is the physical domain. The physical domain, also known as psychomotor domain, focuses on bodily growth, motor coordination, and health. It includes both the development of gross motor skills such as walking, running, jumping, and so on and so forth, and also fine motor skills such as writing, manipulating tools, artistic creation, among others. The physical domain provides the biological foundation upon which cognitive and emotional functions depend. Physical development is influenced by genetic, nutritional, environmental, and lifestyle factors. Regular exercise, balanced diet, and adequate rest contribute to optimal physical growth and brain function. Educationally, the physical domain emphasizes physical education, sports, and health instruction, which promote endurance, coordination, and discipline. Simpson classified the psychomotor domain into 7 levels, which are perception, set-guided response, mechanism, complex, overt response, adaptation, and origination. These levels describe the progression from simple motor learning to mastering and creativity in physical performance. Importantly, physical health affects learning efficiency. Students who are physically fit tend to show better concentration and academic outcomes. Therefore, neglecting these physical domain can hinder not only health but also intellectual and emotional balance. Now, there are interconnectedness among these domains we mentioned. Although distinct, these domains are interdependent, action synergistically in the development of the whole person. The educational domain integrates the others, emotional, social, cognitive, and physical, into a unified process of human formation. For instance, emotional stability supports cognitive engagement. Social interaction enhances problem solving, and physical well-being sustains concentration and learning stamina. Holistic education thus requires a balanced approach that nurtures all domains simultaneously. A learner who is intellectually capable but socially maladjusted or emotionally unstable may not achieve meaningful success. Similarly, physical neglect can impair cognitive performance. The interrelation of the domains underscores the need for comprehensive curricula that address the full spectrum of human growth. Conclusively, the interrogation of the educational, emotional, social, and cognitive and physical domains reveals that human development is a holistic process shaped by interdependent dimensions. Okay? Each domain contributes uniquely to the learning and personal growth. The educational domain organizes the learning experience,
and understanding.
and the emotional domain governs motivation and self-regulation. The social domain facilitates interaction and values. The cognitive domain enhances thinking